Good evening, everyone. I'm Jillian Gray with your JCN News for this Thursday, January 24th. Great having you with us. Another round of layoffs in the banking sector. The Royal Bank of Canada announcing key changes that include branch, or as RBC officials now refer to them, store consolidations. This will be effective as of March 16th and 23rd, respectively. The Robinson Road and John F. Kennedy Drive locations will be merged with the Carmichael Road store. The Andrestown and Grays Long Island locations will also close effective March 30th and April 13th, respectively. The accounts of residents in these communities will, from those dates onward, be handled by RBC's main Bay Street location. Now, these changes will lead to more job losses. In an attempt to cushion the blow, RBC's Managing Director of Caribbean Banking for the Northern Caribbean, Nathaniel Banaby, says the plan is to work with the affected employees so that they're able to make informed decisions about their future. We understand that a voluntary separation of employees program will be offered and that permanent full-time employees who work in store and service delivery areas will be eligible to apply. Further impacted employees will have the opportunity to apply for other available roles within the bank. RBC's changes also present some challenges for some of its clients, but in apologizing, the bank insists the realignment and introduction of physical and digital channel options are in keeping with its effort to become stronger and more competitive. Opposition leader Philip Davis raised the issue in the House of Assembly, bemoaning that this is not the kind of pain he expected from RBC.
Is the private sector following the government's lead? And if it is, or if it was the government's hope that the private sector ought to take up the slack to impact the unemployment statistics, the question is, what then has the government done over the last several months, or what do they plan to do to spur the opportunities in the private sector to ensure that all of these persons who are now being furloughed will be absorbed in the private sector?
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest responded, insisting that the government is not engaged in any plan to deliberately inflict harm or financial burden on anyone through any unnecessary or inconsiderate act.
What we see today is a continuation of a trend that has been happening now for several years. Unfortunately, it is in fact a global trend. As more and more banks, because of the availability of technology, are taking advantage of that technology to reduce their costs. Reducing their costs, unfortunately, means that most of them, or some of them are moving to an electronic banking platform requiring less brick and mortar locations, and as a result, less bodies. It is the curse of this generation.
RBC last year closed several of its stores in the Family Islands. At the time, its Bimini and Spanish Well locations were merged with Freeport and Harbor Island. Now, in House business, legislators today proceeded with the debate on the Traveler's Currency Declaration Amendment Bill, proposed legislation that widens the scope of things that must be as well as how they should be declared upon exiting and entering the Bahamas. For example, apart from declaring in excess of $10,000, if passed, the bill would call for the declaration of precious stones, gems, and bullions. As mover of the bill, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest explained, all such declarations will be recorded and reported to the Financial Intelligence Unit, or FIU.
Customs can seize in whole or in part the non-declared or falsely declared currency or bearer negotiable instrument or precious metals or precious stones if they have reasonable grounds for suspecting that it is or that they are the proceeds of an offense, or if they are terrorist related, or if it represents an instrumentality used or intended for the use in the commission of such an offense, or if there's a false declaration.
Those assets cannot be held for more than 72 hours after seizure unless a magistrate orders otherwise.
After 72 hours, the assets either have to be returned to the traveler, or Customs will have to get a magistrate's order to hold those assets for an additional 3 months. After 3 months, If the investigation is still not completed, then there is a further applications that is necessary, and in any event, the assets cannot be held for more than 2 years.
The bill also proposes to impose a fine for failure to produce any baggage for examination. That fine would not exceed $10,000, but Anglerston MP Glenys Hannah Martin expressed a number of concerns, like would the bill be retroactive, how would it procedurally, and will the policies and regulations for detention, and what about training?
Because otherwise we're going to have serious problems where you have officers having some sort of deception and then it becomes something else. And so I wonder if we can learn what ground is being prepared for customs officers to engage in this. I'd like to know what the industry is saying about it, and I'd like to know where this is happening elsewhere. We'd like to know what you mean by precious metals and stones, because does it include the pearl necklace? And then we want to know why is everything going to the FIU? Are we now creating an environment where all of our business now is going now to agencies that have that really have no jurisdiction unless it falls within a particular parameter of concern in terms of law enforcement.
The Deputy Prime Minister assured that customs officers are trained professionals and will be further trained to be sensitive to the items included in the bill. Well, the Prime Minister and his delegation arrived back from their trip to Texas, where they spent 3 days meeting with the Governor of Texas as well as potential investors, Fortune 500 individuals, and tech enthusiasts in the second largest financially secure state in the U.S. All in all, a successful trip, according to Dr. Minnis.
We had an opportunity to discuss both business opportunity with the what we would term similar to the Chamber of Commerce in the Bahamas, with that grouping in Texas. We met with the senior executives of Google, Silicon Laboratories, Dell, and other technological institutions there. And we subsequently had a very successful meeting with Governor Abbott there in Texas, and we would have discussed again business and educational opportunities. We had very positive discussion with respect to educational opportunities for Bahamians. And I think we would further those discussions with Governor Abbott and his staff. Texas economy is larger than both South Korea and Canada. And that's something we've been missing. But we will harness that relationship.
During his visit, Dr. Minnis touted his most memorable visit while in Houston, a visit with world-renowned pastor Joel Osteen.
He prayed for myself and my team and the Bahamas. He spoke highly of the Bahamas, and he has made a commitment that he would visit the Bahamas very soon, so we would continue that discussion. I think that would be great for the Bahamas.
The trip was capped off with a gathering with the Bahamian diaspora, including students in university, others working in Houston, and of course, a Junkanoo rush out. The delegation included Foreign Affairs Minister Darren Henfield, State Minister for Grand Bahama, Senator Kwesi Thompson, non-resident ambassador designate for Central American States, C.A. Smith, and Senior Policy Advisor in the Office of the Prime Minister, Joshua Sears. When we return, 68 illegals have been brought to the capital, and an update on the case of Jean-Ronnie Jean-Charles. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.